Our guest musician this morning is familiar to some as a friend of the congregation who so generously provided music for us during the pandemic when we were virtual. Leah Morris is a talented musician, singer, and composer who comes from a family of music. We have 2 videos from her today as our special music feature. You'll hear the second one right after Joys and Concerns, entitled The Power of Kindness. If you like what you hear this morning, I encourage you to visit her internet presence and YouTube channel, both at This Is Leah. Our first video this morning is Do You Want a New World?
One seed is all it takes to grow a forest. One candle can fill a dark room. One voice is enough, speaking words of love. Each moment becomes what we choose. So do you want a new world? A world that works for everyone? Just open your mind, maybe you'll see. We can become a new world with Mother Earth circling the sun. She's waiting for you and for me to be the new. Our dreams light a path for us to walk on. Our songs keep our spirits alive. And each little child helps remind us why we not only might, we must thrive. So do you want a new world? A world that works for everyone? Then open your heart and you will see. We can become a new world with Mother Earth circling the sun. She's waiting for you and for me to be the new world. With just that thought, it has begun. Don't you want to see a new world? A world that works for everyone. Then open your life and you can be the coming of the new world with Mother Earth circling the sun. She's waiting for you and for me to be the new world. Be the new world, the new world, the new world, a new world.
Our opening words this morning are in the form of a little story, as told by Kaaren Anderson, who some of you may recognize her name. We've had some sermons here, video sermons from her before, and it's called The Kindness of Lo Mein. My friend Marcy and her boyfriend Brian recently ate dinner at a local Chinese restaurant. As they enjoyed a plate of lo mein, engrossed in conversation, a hand reached down and ushered away their platter of noodles. A voice quick and agitated mumbled, "Sorry," and a thin, poorly dressed woman left the restaurant with their plate of lo mein. In astonishment, they watched her walk down the street, holding the plate with the flat of her hand as she stuffed noodles into her mouth, slapping sharply against her face. The owner realized what happened and darted out the front door, chasing after the noodle thief. He stood firmly in front of her, blocking her way and grabbing a side of the plate. A struggle ensued. Noodles slid uneasily from one side to another, slopping over the edge. He surged forward and pulled with a heroic strong-arm attempt to retrieve the plate. The woman's fingers slid from the plate. Noodles flew, then flopped pathetically on the sidewalk. Left empty-handed with soggy, contaminated noodles at her feet, the woman stood with arms hung dejectedly at her side. The owner walked victoriously back to the restaurant with the soiled plate in hand. My friends were given a new heaping plate of lo mein, although they had already consumed half of the stolen plate. A stream of apology in Chinese came from the proprietor. Unable to eat anymore, they asked to have the noodles wrapped up and set off to see their movie. A block later, they happened upon the noodle thief. The woman was hypercharged. She simultaneously cried, convulsed, and shouted at a man who rapidly retreated from her side of the street. My friend, unsure about what to do, listened to her boyfriend's plea to just walk away, but she didn't. Instead, she walked over to the thief and said, "We haven't formally met, but about 10 minutes ago, you were interested in our noodles. They gave us some new ones. Are you still hungry?" The woman nodded and extended her bony arms. She took the styrofoam container in her hands, bowed ever so slightly, and murmured, "Thank you. You're very kind." What makes us walk away from discomfort or stay? You could say a lot about my friend's story, a lot about generosity, kindness, attention, and thievery. I'm more interested in what motivates us to confront that which makes us uncomfortable and makes us look at the guts and grit of decisions, the choices to not address things that are uncomfortable, uneasy, unbalanced, unnatural, or even unbelievable. When our foundations start to shake, we can feel the tremors move up our legs and into our torsos, and we want more than anything to make it stop. Anyhow, anyway. My friend Marcy could feel herself shake. I know because she told me so. But she chose not to walk away. She dealt with uncomfortableness. She held firm in the muck. Sometimes that's all we need or can do to get to the other side, the side where generosity, comfort, and kindness reside, the side where foundations are firm and stable, where one's shaking walks back to the other side. I will ask one of our newest members, Jackie Hawkston, to come forward and light our chalice this morning. The reading was written by Kelly Weissman Aspruth Jackson. Does the match love the wick? Does the wick love the wax or the air it consumes? Yes, without question. To melt together, to burn together, to change together, the pieces of the candle must love each other, though not necessarily wisely and not necessarily well. Thank you, Jackie. If you would please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing our opening hymn, number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. Sorry, I forgot to invite the song leaders forward. Y'all sound beautiful this morning. Good morning. Welcome to Buckman Bridge Unitarian Universalist Church. I am Jennifer Bacmeister. My pronouns are she and her. I will be your worship leader today, and it is a lovely morning to worship together. No rain until 3 or 4 o'clock today. That counts as a sunny day. If you're a visitor, we ask you to stop by the welcome table and get a name tag so that we may get to know you by name. If you are a regular and have lost your name tag, the welcome table is a good stop for you too. If you are interested in learning more about Unitarian Universalism in general, and our congregation in particular, please check also at the welcome table for information on our Learn About Us classes. In case you can't tell, the welcome table is where the action is. At BBUUC, we treasure our children and our lifespan religious education program, so we are actively seeking reliable paid nursery staff during worship services. The pay is $15 an hour. Applicants must be 18 years of age or older. If you or someone you know would be interested, there's information in the order of service, as well as in the This Week weekly email bulletin for contact information. Volunteers are also needed to assist in the nursery when staff is not available. If the nursery is not your cup of tea, we have sign-up sheets in the back across from the welcome table for other opportunities. And to keep our children's religious education program shining, we are also required to have volunteers from the congregation who are willing to help the teachers with the children's classes. Please consider serving our religious education program from time to time as a volunteer. By filling these roles, you will be making a significant contribution to your church's childcare and RE programs, ensuring a nurturing and enriching experience for the children, and I dare say you might get something out of it too. Be sure to check your order of service each week for additional announcements and event dates. In addition to the order of service, we have a monthly newsletter, The Journey, and a weekly publication entitled This Week, which goes out on Fridays. I'd like to offer this quick reminder to please silence your electronic devices unless you have it programmed to play Spirit of Life at exactly the correct moment. Everyone is invited to stay after the service for beverages, refreshments, and fresh, sparkling conversation. Welcome, one and all, to Buckman Bridge Unitarian Universalist Church. We joyfully welcome you, whoever you are, whatever tradition, gender, race, sexual orientation, or age you represent. Through all your days in our presence, may you experience love. We have this neat little piece written in our order of service. It's called the Congregational Covenant. It's an interesting thing that Unitarian Universalists do, and I found this little reading written by Lisa Ward that explains covenant. A covenant is not a definition of a relationship. It is the framework for our relating. A covenant leaves room for chance and change. It is humble towards evolution. It claims, I will abide with you in this common endeavor, be present as best as I can in our becoming. This calls for a level of trust, courage, and sacrifice that needs to be nurtured, renewed, and affirmed on a regular basis. A creed creates a static truth, something that does not incorporate new insights and realities. A covenant is a dance of creation, keeping in step with one another in the flow of our lives. A creed seeks uniformity and a unison voice. A covenant seeks harmony and a shared voice. Sometimes we may arrive at a unison, but it is not required. A creed gives authority to the statement. A covenant gives authority to the shared intention. A creed creates an us and a them. A covenant invites relationship. A creed is a prescription that must be relied on. A covenant relies on the treasures of shared truth. The overall trust within this covenant is in the truth with a capital T, something which no one person can fully see, yet something with which each and every person can come to know in glimpses, in another's stories, in epiphanies. Truth is ever changing in our seeking to understand because of our limited perspectives. We grow into a deeper sense of the meaning of all things when we take our journey seriously with full heart and mind. The courage within this covenant is in the acceptance and celebration of life with all of its challenges, pain, ironies, and joy. And the sacrifice within this covenant is in the letting go of dogma, of assumptions, of control, and giving over to a greater wisdom which comes to us in bits and pieces. The task of this covenant is to take responsibility for the freedom we espouse. We know that we are interconnected and that what we do creates ripples of hope or despair, of affirmation or negation. What we do with and for one another is powerful and beyond our imagining. So in Lisa's words, each Unitarian Universalist congregation chooses how they will express their version of covenant. I have strongly shared my opinion with the worship committee that we should do it in an interpretive dance. But you can thank the rest of the worship committee that we do not. Each Sunday, we speak the words of our covenant together, both as a reminder and an expression of our faith and our fellow congregants. If you would please repeat the covenant with me, the words are on the screen and in your order of service. We covenant to engage one another with honesty, kindness, and respect, to value diversity, seek understanding of our differences, and practice gracious accountability with care, love, and empathy. We make these promises to those who are here and those yet to come, so that we may be a safe, welcoming, and beloved community of acceptance, learning, and transformation. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing our call to worship. The words are printed in your order of service, and I dare say they're on the screen behind me. What do you get when you cross a televangelist with a Unitarian Universalist? A television show that demands money from you for no particular reason. We here at BBUUC have a reason, though. Reasons, plural, actually. We know that it is through donations and pledges that we build our budget and fund our programs and ministries, pay our staff, and finance the comfort and beauty of our buildings and grounds. Ooh, I said buildings. Maybe someday. Building. I lost my place. We have a QR code in the order of service, a link on our website, and you can even just draft a recurring electronic payment from your bank account. Set it and forget it. I highly recommend that version. While we know that we could easily submit those pledge checks to the church at any time, we still pass the plate on Sunday morning during our worship service to make a community expression of thanks for the blessings of abundance, to visibly bring in the harvest at this, our most cherished hour of the week. Our offering says that the act of giving is as essential to our well-being as anything else we do here on Sunday mornings. Even if during this ritual your offering is only symbolic, please take the plate and pass it to your neighbor. Our offertory ushers will help us cross the aisles. John Wrightington and Marilyn Jones will now come forward to gather the offering. And at the completion of the offering, please rise and bow to your spirit and join us in singing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. I'm not feeling organized today. Please rise. I'm still not quite used to the fact that the words are back there. It's sneaking up behind me. You may have noticed this morning that Benjamin is our speaker, and he signed the book this morning. Where'd you go? Jackie signed the book this morning, and I had her light her chalice. I even put Benjamin's daughters to work, picking up the pennies from heaven. I just want you all to know that we have a little joke that says when you sign the book, you get the goodie bag and your committee assignment. So I don't think I was consciously manifesting that today, but it may just be the way it worked out. So we are thrilled to have Benjamin Ochoa in our pulpit this morning. His topic is Guerrilla Capitalism. There is a lovely little blurb about him in the service, and I encourage all of you to come up and get to know him after the service today. And for now, Benjamin, the pulpit is yours.
Hello. My name is Benjamin. I'm very happy to be here. And I guess before I get started, I just want to give a couple little warnings that I will hopefully not talk too much about math, because I'm going to talk about economics. So if that's upsetting, just be prepared. And then also I want to just say that in all of this, I'm just trying to look forward about what it is we're trying to do next, because I feel like there's a lot of uncertainty in the world, and I just have some ideas. And I don't mean to present this in any way that is like shamed or making anyone trying to feel bad, because we've done a lot and there's a lot to do. So let's get started. So the name of my topic is Guerilla Capitalism, how we can use legal and economic means to end poverty. And I'm going to confess that I picked the title because it's provocative, and I like the idea of guerrillas and capitalism. I think a better title might have been intentional or community-oriented capitalism, standing in contrast to what I think we see a lot of today. And to get started, I'd like to tell a little story about one of my favorite countries, which is Norway. In 1969, in the North Sea, the Norwegians discovered oil. And normally, when a country discovers a massive resource like this, like oil, it drastically changes their economies for the worse. Because during the boom times, they're able to tap into that money and use it to fund social programs. And when things go bust, those programs fall apart, and often the whole government comes along with it. You can read about Venezuela if you want a primer in what happens there. But the Norwegians picked a very different path from what most countries would have done with their money. They established a sovereign wealth fund in 1990. They put the first money into it in 1996. And today the value of that fund is approximately $1.7 trillion US, which is a phenomenal amount of money. A lot of this initial cash came from the oil and gas that they discovered in the North Sea, but they've invested around the world. And there's approximately something like $350,000 for every Norwegian citizen. And this is the result of conscious planning by Norway, by its citizens, by its government, its business, political leaders, to decide to invest this money for their future, to not spend the immediate gains of their oil and gas revenue, to invest it and use that money to fund their people. And if you ever get the chance to go to Norway, I really feel like it is a sleeper place to go and see. I've been to Oslo one time. I rode a bike around. It felt like I was in a small town, even though it's a city of something like 2 million people. You can take these little boats and do a sauna in the middle of Oslo Fjord. And so you're in the sauna, and then you just jump into the fjord to cool off. And it's insane. I didn't do that because I didn't want to drown. But it's a beautiful place, and a big part of it is because they are a shared culture, they're a shared people. I think part of that is the harshness of the winter, the difficulty of the terrain that they live in. But together, this group of people who share a culture, share an idea, have taken their one main big resource, economic resource, and used it to invest in their economy. And I think this is an excellent example of what I call intentional or guerrilla capitalism, bucking conventional wisdom on what we're supposed to do with our money and trying to do something a little bit different. And so to me, as I said in the title, we want to take our legal, our economic knowledge, and we want to apply it to the problem of poverty. Because why not? I don't know. I think about the Sir Edmund Hillary quote, why did he climb Everest? Because it's there. And I feel kind of the same way about poverty. It's a problem we can solve, and it's something we should tackle. Let's get into a bit in the title, Guerilla Capitalism. So what is capitalism? I love the idea of capitalism. I think at its core, it is very compatible with our UU values. The idea that you have the agency to go out into the world, to acquire knowledge, to acquire skills, to sell that, and then to use that money that you gain to decide the kind of life you want to live. I don't think there's anything inherent to the idea of capitalism, this idea that you can go out and create value and share it with your community. I don't think there's anything wrong with this idea as far as our UU values concerned, as far as building a better world. I feel like capitalism gets a bad rap. A lot of people on the left and probably the right seem to dismiss it. Late-stage capitalism, the shifting wealth inequality in our world. and the fact that everything just seems so broken. But I don't feel like this is the fault of capitalism in and of itself, the idea that we can trade with one another. So, I have not public spoken a long time. I do apologize for losing my thoughts here in the middle. I'm doing great, I know. Where's my water? That's the real. This is the trick, right? Oh, I haven't lost my thoughts, I'm thirsty. That's the actual problem. So this idea of capitalism, I think, is fundamental, and I don't think it's something we can get rid of. But if we're going to honestly look at what's going wrong, capitalism has not solved poverty, and I don't think it can. I don't think this idea that we can go out in the economy, make money, and then spend that money, that we can donate it to charity, in and of itself, this does not appear to be sufficient. Because despite how many years, how many decades, centuries of capitalism, we still have poverty. It's the great unsolved problem. It's easier to go to the moon than it is to take care of poor people. And I find that a fascinating thing. Pull it away from the moral concerns, but just as an engineer, as a problem to solve. Why does this happen? And I think it's because capitalism is fundamentally a system for managing scarcity. In the natural world, there's not enough food. We have to build our own shelters. Hurricanes come in and destroy everything we've done. We have to manage scarcity. And to me, this is what capitalism does. When there's not enough food, the price of food goes up. When there's not enough of a particular kind of labor, the price goes up. We're managing scarcity. And when you look at the economy, it's really great, because if you have money, you can say, hey, economy, I would like a coffee. Could you please go to Colombia, grow me some coffee beans, bring them here, roast them, grind them, and put them in a little cup for me? That is incredibly powerful. There is a huge flaw in this, though, in that if you don't have money, if you don't have access to capital, it's not that the economy doesn't care about you, it's the economy doesn't know you exist. The only way to tell the economy that you need something is through money. You must have cash to be able to say, I need food, I need shelter, I need clothing. And so the people who exist at the bottom, whether here in America or around the world, they will never, using a capitalist system, be able to pull themselves out. And I don't know enough about economics and math to justify that, but I do know, just looking at the world and the state of history, that this is true. The things we are doing now are not going to solve poverty. So we need to do something different. And to me, this is where the idea of the guerrilla capitalism comes in, this intentional capitalism. Like Norway, we've got to sit down and think, how can we act in a way that's different than the things we've been taught, that actually gets at the roots of these problems, that actually solves these problems in a real and permanent way, so it's not something that we have to worry about going forward, and we can focus on different things to work on. So when I think about intentional capitalism, and capitalism generally, you can't throw it away. You can't get rid of capitalism. Capitalism is built on top of our legal system, which is built on top of our government. These are things generations of us have struggled to build and create. These are the best systems we have so far. I don't think that we can replace it with some kind of communist or socialist utopia. We've got to use the tools at our disposal. And so how do we become more intentional? How do we transform our economic and our legal thinking so that we can create systems that actually eliminate poverty? So I think about Norway. I think about this church. To me, these are examples of people coming together in defiance of traditional economic wisdom to build something. I don't think from a strictly economic perspective this church is rational. What does it provide? Spiritual need? A home for anyone seeking a spiritual home? Is there value in that? Would capitalism put a monetary value on our community? What is it worth? I don't really think it's worth anything in monetary terms, but it has infinite value to us who experience it. And it's not something we could sell for any amount of money. I don't think there's any cost that someone could offer us for this building or the land that it's on that we would take. because what we have is more valuable than money. And that, I think, is the key to how we build a capitalist system, an intentional capitalist system that works for us. Traditional wisdom tells us that we should invest our money in the stock market for retirement, with the goal that we would save enough money that we would be able to live in our elder years and take care of ourselves. This has become increasingly insane to me as I grow older. I've always looked at the math of how much money I need to save year to year to reach the financial number I need to take care of myself. It has traditionally sat around $1 to $2 million. It is now something like $4 million and appears to be going up. And it seems a bit of a joke to me that I'm somehow going to be able to save enough money to deal with my medical costs, my food, housing, when all of these numbers just seem to be going up and up and up. And what are we to do? But in this church, I don't have to pay anything. I mean, I do, because I wanted to exist. And that's a choice I make. But when I first came, there was no financial obligation. This was a spiritual home for all who sought it. What is the value of that? Well, according to our annual budget, what the building's about $1 million, plus what our contributions are, it does have a literal cost, and honestly, it's quite cheap. It's really not that much when you think about it. And when you start breaking things down by numbers, so I was a little sad when I actually looked these numbers up. I was hoping they would be higher because I wanted to make an argument, if we pooled our money together, we can do so much to help people. And I don't know, I feel like we're a lot poorer than maybe we used to be. So the numbers I pulled out, so you may not know it, the most effective way to deal with homeless people is what's called housing first, where if you have a homeless person, you put them in a house. And this ends up being cheaper for a lot of different reasons. They're not living on the street, so they're not having EMS, the police called on them, they're not having random medical events, they're not causing crimes. And then when you put a person in a house, it lets you take care of them. It lets social workers find them, it lets them have a place they can take a bath, a place they can feel safe. Housing first for people costs about $20,000 per person per year, or per family per year, which I feel like is a very bargain basement price. I'm sorry, we're going to get into math. This is where we go. And so I like to think of that number as kind of a baseline, $20,000 a year to support people. So that's kind of what you have to generate if you want to eliminate homelessness. Which seems like a lot of money, but I really don't think it is. I mean, the average income in Duval County, unfortunately, is only $38,000 per year, and in Clay it's $39,000. But our median income in Duval is $68,000, and in Clay County it's $86,000. So that means, just hypothetically, if everyone was just to say, what if, just thinking outside the box, we gave up our fancy homes in the suburbs, and we gave up our cars, and we just lived like the people we were trying to help. That means that each of us on our medium incomes could support 3 families, not 1. And that's the kind of ideas I think about. For example, our groceries, the average grocery spend per individual is about $350 per month. How many people are in here? I don't know, 100? So what, all together we're spending $35,000 a month on groceries. If we put all that money together, what can we buy? How much food could we buy? If we invest in a grocery store that just fed people who came in, much like the food banks. But we think of the food banks as something we use to take care of the poor. This is a mentality that doesn't work. If instead we think of all of us as poor, if we instead think of us that none of us really have that much. One disease, one bad accident could wipe out your finances. What if there was a grocery store where we pooled all of our money together that we spend on groceries? We buy in bulk, we buy local, we do all the things that we try to do as individuals, but we do them together. We make sure the coffee that we're getting from Colombia is grown by a farmer who's getting paid, is being processed by a system that actually cares about the people that are in it. if we work together, we have a lot more money than we think we do. We have a lot more ability to impact our world and create change. And the one that I think is most insidious, though, and I think the easiest one to kind of work on right now, is credit cards. I really dislike credit cards. And the reason is because of the 3%. So when you use a credit card, the merchant is actually typically paying 2 to 3% of that cost on every transaction. And that doesn't seem like a lot. But if you're familiar with this idea of compounding interest, if every time you go to a local merchant, every time you try to spend your money here and you swipe the plastic, 3% of that is just going somewhere, I don't know where, into the pockets of the billionaires, I imagine, because the game seems rigged. And what is that? 3% year after year, decade after decade? How much money do credit cards take out of our communities? So I think we should use cash, especially when we're local. But I feel like if you want to be guerrilla about it, and this is why I like the term, when you go to Walmart, you use a credit card because they can afford it, right? And we get the points back, right? You get points back. But when you go to a local merchant, you have to ask yourself, is the points I get from responsibly using my credit card worth the money it's going to take out of my community? Is it worth my time to go to the ATM, pull out some cash, so when I go to the farmer's market, I know all of the money I'm putting in my community is going to my community. These are the little things I think we have to kind of look at to take all the knowledge we have about how to save, how to invest, and reapply it to our world, to rethink, step back, and rethink, what can we do? You know, I would love to live in a world where we don't just have dinners like once a month, but many times a week. If we all cook for each other, I have to make food every day. It doesn't really matter if it's for me or me and my girls or for like all of my friends. Either way, I'm going to be cooking for an hour or two. We could save money by coming together. And so I think if we do take this step back, and there's just so much we can do, and just our congregation's what, 100 people, 200 people? I don't actually know what the number is. Does anyone know? How many people are, do you know? Huh? 150? 150. That's some impact. But I was talking this morning with Cindy about eye care, and you may not know it, but we're in a network of 38 congregations that serve 30,000 people. 30,000 people with an average income of what, 40,000? A medium income of 70,000? What happens if you put all that money together? I know we all complain about living in the suburbs, about having to drive everywhere. Our houses are investments. Our houses are part of this economic future that we're saving for. But to what end? To live in communities we hate, to drive cars that pollute, that leave us stuck in these worlds. We can combine our grocery budgets together. What happens if we combine our housing budgets together? What if instead when I go to look for a house here in Jacksonville, instead of just looking for a home for me, we sit down and we think about, well, could we build a community? We already do it. My parents live in a 55-plus retirement community. It's amazing. They have community, they get together, and my kids and myself are not allowed in because we're too old. And half of those people just hate children. They hate them so much. The number of times we've been in the pool, 5 minutes over time, and some old person is like, no, get the children out right now. I don't want to swim with them. It is mind-boggling. But they've come together in this really neat community. And I always ask myself, well, what if we built a community like that, but we let all the generations live together? I think about how nice it would be to like wake up in the morning and to have my own house, because I'm my own person, I have my own things. So like, you don't want to live with me. But if you lived right next to me, then, you know, you get things like bread and tortillas. You know, I don't know what things you would add, music or coffee. And just what does that look like? If we stop thinking about saving for retirement, that our house needs to be worth this amount of money, if we instead invest in the things around us that give us value, not just the stock market, because I do not understand what investing in the stock market gives me, because it's this idea that's future and far away. When I give money to the church, I know exactly what I'm getting. When I give money to the food bank, I know what I'm getting. And I feel like there's real value in that, in rethinking how we invest our money and really questioning the wisdom that comes down from above. Because every time I think about what they tell me to do with my money, I always see their hand in my pocket. And I just think we can do more. I look at this room, and in the history of people, this must be one of the most educated, wealthiest, powerful groups of people that has been assembled. We're not just like regular Americans. How many of us have degrees? How many of us have above average income? What is our ability to really affect change in our world? The power in our wallets allows us to demand coffee from Colombia. It allows us to demand goods from all over the planet. What if we demand housing, if we demand food, if we build a world together? So this is the idea of guerrilla or intentional capitalism, that we don't have to play by the rules we've been given. We can rethink this game. And I really think if we step back and change how we spend our money, and specifically if we spend our money together, then we can really build a world where we do end poverty, where everybody has a house, where everybody has food, where when you walk in, you get taken care of, not just spiritually, but physically as well. Thank you.
Excellent. Now that's not some food for thought later. Our closing hymn is number 84. I'll ask the song leaders to come up. I do love you guys. I didn't mean to forget. We have not sung number 84 in my recent memory. It's How Far Can Reach a Smile. I will ask Eileen to play it through once, the melody for us, so that we can hear it, and I will ask you to rise in body or spirit and sing. It's 4 verses. Sing all 4 verses with us. At the conclusion of the hymn, please remain standing for the benediction and the extinguishing of the chalice. I'll ask Jackie to return to extinguish our chalice this morning. And our closing words were written by Emily Richards. May you leave this time together changed. May the promises you have made to yourself about who you want to be feel closer to the reality of who you are right now. May you share that feeling of transformation wherever you go. May it spread into every word, deed, thought, and interaction until we are all changed, transformed, and transforming together, becoming our better selves. Namaste, blessed be, go in peace. Let's eat cookies.